Nissan's in free fall. The company just lost $4.5 billion, and now they're shutting down manufacturing plants globally. Let's break down what's going on with this storied automaker, Pops. Let's start there. $4.5 billion loss last year. That's coming off the heels of other $4.5 billion losses in the past decade. What's going on over at Nissan?
Well, nothing good. Every indicator is that Nissan is in severe trouble, both financially and product-wise. I mean, they have some of the lowest priced vehicles offered in the United States, and they can't sell them. So you have a combination of a company that made a lot of mistakes during, say, 2010 to 2018 or so, especially with their choice of transmissions, CVT transmissions for their cars, which really started to ruin the quality that Nissan was known for. Then, as you can see, in 2019 and 2020, between those 2 years, they lost $7.5 billion. Things turned around in 2021, 22, and 23. But when you start adding it up, the gains that they made in those 3 years didn't even add up to the losses of 2019 and 2020. Lo and behold, on top of that comes a $4.5 billion loss in 2024. And they are running low on cash.
So you end up in a situation where their vehicles are just not selling. However, Dad, they have manufacturing capabilities out the wazoo. Nissan could be producing so many more vehicles. However, their dealers are already oversupplied. Here's just a quick example from CarEdge.com. You can see we're in California, the Frontier, 140 days on the market. The Altima, 280 days on the market. Nissan dealers are sitting on a bunch of inventory right now. They have a high days supply of inventory, and that number has been growing as well. We can look back into the not too distant past, and we can see that Nissan's days supply of inventory has continued to go up and to the right, meaning that they have an oversupply of inventory and not enough buyers. And so really what you have, Dad, is a company that doesn't have enough cash to sustain themselves. They have too many production capabilities. And then ultimately, they have too many vehicles that aren't selling. That's leading to some of their decisions, like shutting down one of their storied plants back in Japan, as well as multiple production facilities in Mexico. And this is all part of their broader strategy, which is to cut down another maybe 5 manufacturing plants globally so that they can kind of get their supply and demand in order.
Well, when you take a look at their production, their manufacturing facilities were running at about 50% of production capability. Well, when manufacturing plants operate at 50% of production capability, that's not profitable. Okay, you need those numbers to be 70, 75, 80% of capability, not 50%. So the hope is that by closing 7 or 8 manufacturing facilities and consolidating the manufacturing in the remaining facilities, that they'll be able to increase the production capabilities at every one of their remaining facilities. Now, the problem with that thinking is, will they build cars that people want? Now, as it appears here in North America, they do not. Okay, and they have several manufacturing facilities here in North America. And yet the vehicles that they build there don't seem to be vehicles that the public wants to buy. So they have a real conundrum. They have too much production capability, and what they're producing is not something that the public wants. Now, how they turn that around, I'm not sure, but they need to hit. It's the bottom of the 9th, ladies and gentlemen. They're down by 3 runs. They've 2 outs, and there's nobody on base, and they're hoping for a grand slam to pull out the victory. Well, even if the guy at the bat hits that home run, it's only 1 run. They're in trouble.
Pops, there's a major issue out there. There are all sorts of people brokering your data, and anyone can buy it. Whether it's your social security number, your home address, what school you went to, all that information and so much more is being sold online to marketers and scammers. That's bad.
Absolutely. And the way to prevent that is to use Delete Me. Delete Me will help take your information away from all those brokers so that they can't sell it to the scammers out there.
Look at you, Pops. You sound like a Delete Me user yourself. I know I use Delete Me, and hundreds of my records have been scraped off of the internet, getting that information out of the hands of those scammers, marketers, and everything in between. We have a special offer for our CarEdge community, 20% off when you sign up with the link joindeleteme.com/CarEdge. Top of the description will be that link, Dad. We both use Delete Me. We enjoy using Delete Me. I like the monthly reports that show me all my data being removed from the internet. We thank Delete Me for sponsoring our channel.
One day you might not even see me here.
And Dad, this comes after failed talks with Honda on a potential merger and acquisition. And I want to bring up a point or hammer home a point that you just brought up, which is the products and what they have in the market and how quickly they can get the right products in the market. It was back in March of this year that the new CEO of Nissan came out and said, hey, we move too slowly to produce a brand new vehicle. It takes Nissan 55 months to develop a completely new vehicle. Their aim and their goal is to get that down to 37 months. So let that sit for a second. It takes them 55 months, folks. That's almost 5 years. It takes them 5 years to produce a new vehicle, completely new vehicle. And if what you said is true, Dad, if we really think that what they're experiencing right now is a product failure, failure of product, then it's going to take them 5 years, or maybe they get to 37 months. So now it's going to take them 3 years to be able to produce those completely new vehicles that meet consumer demands, that sell really well. No matter how you slice it and dice it, they got to sustain themselves for a few more years here, and you can't be losing $4.5 billion each year. Makes me think there's going to be some really big incentives for consumers to keep moving the metal, which we saw, Dad, 99% profit drop for Nissan globally because they had to incentivize their sales so much in the US. So there could be a real buying opportunity here as Nissan goes through this 5-year period of trying to get new hot vehicles on the market.
But do they have a cash runway to last 5 years? And they stated last year that they have, or there were reports last year that they had about a year and a half's worth of cash left on hand. They have talked about selling off, valuable real estate, their home headquarters in Japan, trying to raise cash so that they can sustain themselves. Even if they bring down the time that it takes to come out with a completely new vehicle to 3 years, do they have the cash to sustain themselves for 3 years? That is twice as long as what the reports indicated that they have on hand. So it is, can they really afford to increase incentives to move the product that they have when they have no money? Okay. So how do you do that? I mean, if you increase incentives, then you're taking the money away from development. So at some point you have to look at it and we got to cut our losses. We got to hope that there's a white knight out there that comes through and wants to give us billions of dollars so that we can stay in business and Nissan can be around for years to come. Or maybe they just look at trying to find one vehicle that's really popular and then build from that and cut back the amount of vehicles that they do produce. Maybe. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm glad I'm not the one that's got to come up with it.
One of the answers, Dad, has been to sell their stake in other companies to get some cash on the books. You mentioned how they were thinking about selling their headquarters. Well, they did sell a majority of their stake in Mitsubishi, for example, to get cash, free up cash there, and in other automakers they've had a position in as well. So Nissan's doing everything they can to sustain themselves, but I do want to just continue to wave the flag. I think the Nissan brand will sustain itself in some way, shape, or form. It's not like Nissan's going to go away overnight. Someone will buy them, they'll merge into another company. Like, Nissan as a brand will exist. So you shouldn't be too afraid of, will there be parts for my warranty repair and things like that. And I think in this time of desperation for the automaker creates a huge opportunity for consumers. You want a relatively affordable vehicle that gets you from point A to point B. Nissan represents a really good option right now, and the incentives are there to try and get the metal to be moved. So I would really take a close eye at Nissan, even though it's doom and gloom here on the CarEdge channel when we talk about Nissan. I think they're going to sustain themselves in some way, shape, or form. So don't be worried about that. Can you snag a really good deal as they're going through all this, tumultuous times? I think so. I think the answer is yes.
Well, typically when manufacturers are really, really, really struggling, that there's typically huge opportunities on the buy end of their products. So yeah, will the product you're buying be around 5 years from now? I don't know. Will Nissan be around 5 years from now? Somebody might own them. I don't know who it is. Maybe BYD buys them. Maybe another Chinese auto manufacturer buys them. Who knows who comes together? The last time they were rescued, it was Renault. And so the possibility exists because they've been around as long as they have, that they will continue to be around because somebody will look at them and go, there's enough here to make some type of investment. But are they going to be around as we know them today? I don't think so.